Hey guys, Silver528 here. Welcome back to another video. It's been a while since I posted, I know. But I decided to post this video about my striker deck profile. I've been playing this deck, ever since Engage got unbanned. I've been playing this deck, like, forever. I played in a remote duel OTS qualifier today. I came fourth. We went X1, 5 Swiss, so I did pretty solid. So might as well, I was like, hey, I'll just show this deck profile. So we are getting that Yu-Gi-Oh! Themed face mask. Unfortunately, does not get the invite, so we did come fourth. The only thing we lost to was a Numeron striker deck. Interesting, Lee. He just Numeron decayed me, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, might as well just get right into the deck profile. First up, we have 3 copies of Ray. Ray is really good. She's an infinite recursion engine. Just for like, if anytime a striker monster, you just leaves the field and you just bring back Ray, and she just constantly comes back over and over again, which means it's constant recursion and disgustingly good. She also quick effect, just quick effect dodge. The reason why this effect's important because it dodges cards like punishment or like just any targeting removal, which means your opponent cannot pop your normal summon because you can just chain raise and then go into striker link. And this is also good for pushing it for extra damage or stopping it from dying by making Kaina during your opponent's turn. Using Ray effect. The fact that this also triggers, it's a quick effect, you can just summon Shizuka during your opponent's end phase, get a search. Rage is a versatile card overall, insanely strong. I don't know what you're doing if you're not playing 3 of these. You kind of have to play 3 if you're going to play this deck. Then we have 2 copies of Rose. She's not the best. She's not bad either. Her effect is that she helps you put extra damage on board by being an extra body, just summoning her when you summon a striker monster. So she did actually win me like 2 games today by just like pushing for extra damage. However, her second effect where she revives herself, but it barely comes up. But it is a non-trigger negate, which means it is an Ultra Dragoonie if your opponent makes Verte. However, it's very like mediocre. I'm probably gonna cut this card to 1. It just like doesn't do enough for me. I might play like a different power 1 of or something like that, but as of now, it's like fine. It's not the best. It's really just an extra name. That's all I really play it for. But because like this deck doesn't really have a lot of ways to get its names too much. But yeah, it's fine. I guess you can play 1 of this and get away with Prime, but do not play 3. 3 just you're asking for trouble because you can just break on a bunch of these. The worst hands in this deck is either drawing too many striker monsters or only opening spells. Those are the worst hands. You want to open 1 striker monster. Sometimes 2 is okay, because if your opponent like bells your Ray in your graveyard, it can just normal summon a new one. And just like every other card should be a spell. That should be the kind of hand you want to open, or like hand traps, something like that. You never want to open like more than like 2 striker monsters or like no striker monsters at all. So 2 is like a fine number. You can play 1 of this and get away with fine though. Then we have hand traps. 3 copies of Ash, 3 copies of Bell, 3 copies of and 3 copies of Valor. We also have Imprims. Well, we'll get to those later. Standard line of hand traps right now. I play a total of 12. Ash is good. It's just all around just really good hand trap against every deck right now. If it's not the best, it's okay at best, which means it's still like decently well because this card hits at least 1 thing in every single deck. That's why it's important. Bell's right now one of the best hand traps in this current format, just because it hits Revolt, it hits like Dragtron decks, it hits Striker 2 by belling Kagari. Same thing with Valor, just like hits a lot of different decks. Especially Tri Brigade, we can just pitch this on your opponent's Tri Brigade summon effect. So yeah, really good hand traps. In Striker, you want to max out a hand trap as much as possible. I have 1 copy of Pecker Tops. Just really good for breaking boards, since you're going second with this deck. Especially on Pecker Tops, you can just beat over an Apollosa your opponent has, like if you're playing Tri Brigade. Or just any possible disruption. You force out negates, you force out disruption. Really, really good board breaker, and just gives you like a lot of control over the board. Pecker is a very, very strong card. You want to play this card in the main deck. And we have the Striker spell cards. We have 3 copies of Widow Anchor. Insane card, by the way. This thing's a negate and a snatch steal. That's a quick effect. It's really good for no reason. Why is this card at 3? Is the question. Play 3. There's really no else to put this. This card's disgusting. 2 copies of Shark Cannon. You can argue playing 3 of this. I just personally picked 2 because you can just recycle it. and it's not the best against every single deck. It's really just it's only against Dragtron where it's extremely powerful. But every other deck it's like okay at best. It's pretty good in the mirror though because it can banish race at opponent's graveyard. Regardless, like besides that, it doesn't do a lot against other decks. Like Invoke Shaddoll, you can ban Alistair, but that's really it. And against like Tri Brigade, you just can modify the numbers in the graveyard, so your opponent like she can't summon monsters, specific monsters. But that's really the extent of Shark Cannon does against other decks. Against Dragtron, you if you set like 2 Shark Cannon, you win. So there's that. It's a good enough card to play because you can also like since it's also a monster reborn from your opponent's graveyard, you can actually revive 2 creatures from your opponent's grave like Ash Blossom or Effect Veiler, and then go into how access combo. So having that kind of niche is really nice. Same thing with Widow Anchor, you can just steal their opponent's like link monsters, make access code. So yeah, decently good card. You can play 3, doesn't matter. We took off his Afterburners. This card's pretty good. I seen people play one of this. I don't think that's correct, just because Afterburners lets you get rid of really, really annoying problem monsters. Seeing, like, let's say your opponent has, like, a really big monster you can't beat over. Afterburner can clean that up really quickly. And it's also, like, a good, like, back removal effect, so you can just clean up boards really nicely. Really versatile, really strong. I like playing 2 of this because you always want to have another one just in case something goes wrong. I wish this was a quick effect, though, to be honest, but being spell speed 1 is also fine, because you can actually, if you do what's it called, multi-roll, and it's spell speed for destruction, which is, you know, good. That's what access code is. That's why access code is good, you know. It's also just a 2-for-1 too if you have 3 or more spells, because it pops in bonus spell trap. So yeah, Afterburn is good. I like playing 2 of this. I think you should play 2 of this, but you could play 1 if you want. 2 copies of 0. Really don't play like any other number. Like 1 is like not good enough because you want to see at least 1 sometimes. Or 3 is just way too pricky. You don't need the 3rd copy because you have engage, you know. You don't need the third copy because you're playing too many hand trips now. To be honest, that's the better point, because you're not gonna always hit something off this. You kind of whiff more than off. Like you will whiff every now and then. That's why you don't really need 3 of this. Ares Zero is fine. If you open MST plus Ares Zero, you can get body on board if you don't have that body already. So that is a really neat interaction thing with multi-roll. So this does let you help unbreak hands if you have like really weird hands. I used to play Cosmic Cyclone or MST, but you know, having that like another way to get to Ray just with MST is really nice. So that's why I do play this card with MST. Ares Zero is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You can do Ray, 0, target Ray, chain Ray, summon Link, and then get the advantage off it. So you just lose no card advantage, essentially. Yeah, just play 2 of this. Don't play more, or don't play less. That's really it. Then we have the power 1 of Striker spells. Engage, obviously. Stupid, overly powered card. Multi-roll, Ego Booster, and Drones. All of these cards are very, very strong. Engage is a better pot of greed, essentially. Multi-roll just lets you recycle everything and makes everything spell speed 4 sometimes. Ego Booster just makes everything unaffected. If you activate, you use the access code, what is your opponent gonna do? You just kill them in the follow-up. It also lets you guarantee to get to access combo. Ego Booster and hell, it's a stupidly good card. Guarantees Kagari effects and everything. Very, very strong. And Horner Drone's an extra name, so yeah. Nothing really else to say about these cards other than the fact they're extremely powerful. And you do have to play these if you're going to play Striker. That's really it. Then we have generic spells. We have 2 copies of MST. It's back removal. That's really it. It can also pop your like Ares Zero, and you can trigger the effect and special summon a monster from deck. So yeah, that's why you're playing this card. Then we have the Foolish Burial package. We have 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods and the Metal Force Fusion, descended off the goods. This is just an extra draw engine. I like playing this over Desire just because it's basically 2 spells off 1 card, because you don't have to use this right away. So, but while this Desire does let you get deeper into the deck, it is only 1 spell count. It's not because I have the fear of banishing Engage. You don't need Engage to win with this deck. I've done it a few times, without Engage. So, the deck's just better with Engage. A lot better, but it's just better. That's all it is. So yeah, you can play Metal Force Fusion. You can play both, to be honest, too, if you want. I just like playing this package personally, because it's just an extra spell engrave off 1 card. And to draw 1, shuffle back is nice too, because you can just do it over and over again. Then we have the power 1 of spells, Rhoda, Upstart, Mystic Mine, and Terraforming. Mystic Mind lets you stall out games, like, so you can just draw into your, like, your rays or like strong spells, so you can actually break your opponent's board and go for an OTK with access code. Terraforming to search out, whatever you need. Upstart is just a draw one, free spell engrave. And Rhoda, pick your name. That's really it. Power 1-ups, you kind of just play these. You have to kind of play these if you're going to Striker. And 3 copies of Improv for your final hand traps. Or the owner traps in this deck. You can play Strike too if you're going to play going first Striker. There's really no difference. Then we have the extra deck. We have, first the Striker monsters, we have 2 copies of Hayate, Swing Direct, send a Striker spell, or a Striker, any card, which means if you actually normal summon Rose, or use Hornet Drones to summon a monster, you can use Hayate, send Ray. Here's a fact, you always send Ray off Hayate if you do not have Ray in Graveyard. Ray lets you generate so much advantage and lets you keep going and, like, not die. The fact that it's so important to have it in the graveyard, you have to send it off graveyard, even if it's time to engage. If you don't have Ray, you have to send it off Hayate. There's no question. I'm playing 2 of this because I'm playing Nightmare Phoenix. Instead, you'll see why. You'll understand why I'm playing that card over. Then we have 3 copies of, what am I not saying 2. We have 3 copies of Kagari. This card's at 3 with engage at 1. Why? I'm not complaining, because I love this deck, but, Kagari is insane. It's just free recursion every single turn. Just add back engage and do it again. Really good card. Nothing else to say. And we have 3 copies of Shizuku. Shizu's fine. It's not a bad card. It's not a good card. It's a good card. It's not a bad card. The attack decrease action does come up a bit, because your opponent actually can't beat over sometimes. They can't beat over your stuff sometimes, and just having that, like, extra decrease does leave you, like, on that extra life points, which matters a lot in this deck. Shizuku's fine. It searches during the end phase, which is kind of slow, until you realize you can just search engage off this. It's just a generic search for anything, essentially. So, yeah, Shizuku's really, really good. Also, if you have multi-roll up, by the way, if you have multi-roll up, you can actually go Shizuku, search Widowmaker, whatever, or Sugar Cannon, activate that during the end phase, and multi-roll reset it immediately. So you just get the value off immediately, just right away, which is nice. Kind of, still, basically for time, or, just like, stalling out games so you don't die. That's essentially it. And Zeke. Zeke is really, really good, just because it's generic, like, 2, which means, if your opponent just, like, gives you a Kaiju or something like that, you can just link it off something Zeke. Before, Strikers had a huge problem just trying to get rid of Kaijus and whatnot on the board side of the board, which means they were forced to go into generic Link Monster, which means now they don't have access to Ray, which is a huge problem for the deck. Zeke fixes that problem by just, being a Striker name, so which means you can just link it off for a new Striker Monster, Link 1. So yeah, Zeke is very, very good. You really don't use it for its effects. It's really just because it's a generic Link 2. Its banish effects is fine, but the annoying part is that does come back during the next end phase, which means if you're banished Dragoon off this after you negate with the Rose, it does come back, which really sucks. I wish it's banished permanently, but I guess we can't have that. But this card's fine. It's good. The fact that the important part is that it's a Striker Link monster that's a Link 2. Then we have the generic extra deck monsters. We have Phoenix, the pop Imperial Order, or just really any floodgate that's troubling you. Ningir says an Ultra Dragoon, a non-target send. And we have the access code package with Hako Fibrax and Celine. You can play Boral Sword instead of access code, can't afford it. But this card is coming out of the tin, so you can probably afford it then. But yeah, these cards, I will say the reason I like playing this over just like Hida package or whatnot is because it's a very consistent OTK, which means just any normal summon of a tuner, or just like you could take control of your opponent's like, or just take opponent's Ash Blossoms like that out of their graveyard. You have full combo with OTK, which is the important part. I just like this because it's consistent. It's always to the point. You basically never fail to resolve this card, especially if you have Equal Booster in hand, which you can search with Engage or whatnot. So yeah. And then with the side deck. For monsters, you just have 3 monsters, which is Nibiru. Hits prank crits, hits like, just really any deck. It's really good against Tri Charge 2, even Tri Brigade. All around really, really good card. I played this on side deck. I would not main this though, just because like, there's not enough decks to main this for. Then we have one copy of, then we have back removal. You have Duster, Giant Waves, and 2 copies of Twin Twister. Wave is a searchable spell trap removal, which is why you're playing it. You just need one of this. Duster's, board wipe for everything. And Twin Twisters, just gets rid of two back row, that's problematic. So, they're all good cards. There's really nothing else to say. Then we have 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. If you can't afford this, you don't have to play this. I played Dark Lord more before I played this card. You can easily play Dark Lord over this. I just like playing Droplet just because it's like a non-target send, which means non-target negation, which means it's an easy outer Dragoon, and the fact that it doesn't it has the attack, which means you don't actually have to banish it with Zeke or whatnot, or just force pop it with Afterburners. You can just simply beat over it with any monster, essentially, any of your trigger monsters, specific Kagari, which can boost it, or Shizuki, which can decrease the Dragoon. Droplets, I really only play it for the fact that it's a non-target negate and it has the attack is a more important part, because it's easy after Dragoon or just really any non-target monster. You don't have to play this though. You can easily play Dark Lord No More or something, any cheaper budget opener this card. I just prefer playing it. We have 3 copies of Judgment and 3 copies of Settlement Limit for our traps. Judgment is insane. It protects all your spell traps from destruction like Duster or Lightning Storm. I play this card, no question. Then we have 3 copies of Summon Limit. It's a very, very good card going first. Shuts down Dryatron, shuts down Virtual World, shuts down really any combo deck essentially. And the fact that it just similar to the 2 summons per turn, which is all you're gonna need, because you just make Hayate, send something, Kagari add back, or just Kagari add back and summon Shizuku. So you literally lose no advantage, just because if your opponent gets rid of your trigger monster, you can just bring back Ray during their turn, so it doesn't even count towards summon limit. This card is absurd in this deck. You play it in the side deck, please. You don't know what you're doing if you're not playing it. And that's it for deck profile. Thanks for watching, guys. I got 4th again, X1, and yeah, I'll see ya. Bye.